What is going on, everybody? This is Yes I Read That, and today I am reviewing Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. Alright, so Pachinko, I really like this book. It is written by the Korean author Min Jin Lee, and it's a rich history spanning almost 100 years, first in Korea and then in Osaka pre- and post-World War, and finally in Tokyo and Yokohama. But not only does it deal with a lot of history, but it also deals with a family that feels lost moving to a foreign country without ever really getting accepted, and how the family deals with it or fails to deal with it. The title initially didn't make much sense to me. Pachinko, I didn't know what it was, but now I know, and it really makes sense now. So Pachinko is a Japanese pinball or slot machine for gambling, basically. It's not completely gambling, but it is at least partly gambling. And well, it kind of makes sense in the end if you think about the lives of the family and how they were influenced, and they couldn't really do anything about their situation. Alright, anyways, let me start this review by telling you a bit about the story, and then I'll go into my likes and dislikes and give you my score for the book. So, in the beginning of the last century, a teenage girl called Sunja in Korea falls for a wealthy stranger. Now, Sunja is the daughter of a crippled fisherman and his wife, who have a boarding house in the city, and when the wealthy man promises her the world, she believes him and she starts a hidden relationship with him. But as soon as she discovers that she's pregnant and the man doesn't want to marry her because he has a family in Osaka, she notices that she made a big mistake, and usually at that time your life is ruined if you get a kid but don't have a husband. So she was really in a desperate position, and luckily for her, her family housed a very sick Christian minister who he was ill for I think quite a few weeks or even a few months, and when he is back on his feet, he decides he will marry Sunja to save her and save her family from the trouble. The problem is that he has to move to Osaka to his new church, and Sunja will have to move with him. So we follow this family, which in the Eastern culture back in the day, it was very important. Like, you couldn't get divorced, basically. So we follow them, Sunja, her husband Isak, and also the wealthy man, the actual father of the kid, who has a family in Osaka. We follow these three people throughout the book, and eventually their kids as well. And it's a very interesting story. I'm not going to spoil a lot, but as I said, it spans a lot of history. It does span the world wars, the poverty that they experienced, the bombings of the Japanese cities, and eventually the period after war where Japan came back to prosperity. So let's get into my likes and dislikes. I'll start with my likes. Now, as I said, I really enjoyed this book. Now, the reason that I enjoyed this book a lot is it just tells a beautiful story about a family living their lives, like living this family life and holding together. And it's basically a story about holding on and keeping on doing it even though you have a very, very hard life. The language in the book is very plain, but for some reason that really made some of the emotional scenes seem even more emotional and hit even harder, because it used very plain words, but the content just hits you. Another point that I really liked is I learned a lot in this book about the culture, but also about the people who are called Zainichi, who are the Korean people who came from Korea before the Second World War started, or maybe during the Second World War, when there was a unified Korea. And they stayed in Japan throughout and after the World War, so they do not belong to either North Korea or South Korea, but to a unified Korea that doesn't even exist anymore. And these people, every year, they have to get their fingerprints, and they may just be deported without any reason from Japan, while they don't even really have a home country anymore. So Overall, there's just so much history, so many emotions, so much poverty, wealth, like struggling for education, all of these different aspects in one book, and it's not even that long. And I think if I would hear this from a perspective where I didn't read the book yet, that would sound kind of boring, but I found it really gripping actually, and I really wanted to go on reading. So for me, the book just really hit home. I loved the story and the development of the family. It was phenomenal, and at times it was very emotional. I don't know, the feeling of the book is just very unique, and I really enjoyed it. My dislikes, I don't really have any. Maybe it feels a little slow and boring at times, and the thing is, there's not really a goal, or there's not really that much plot going on at times. But for some reason it didn't really matter to me that much. I could see how some people dislike it because of that though. It's at times certainly a bit slice of life, I guess. My overall score for the book is a 9 out of 10. I really thought about this, and I don't know if it's too high, but for me personally, I just really loved the book. The story had a big emotional impact on me. I learned a lot of new interesting things about culture in Korea and in Japan. The language in the book is very simple, but it really works for me. Yeah, and the emotional parts, the story of the family, the development, it just really, really was a very interesting book to me. So I would say if you enjoy different cultures, like if you're slightly interested in Korean or Japanese culture, then you will probably enjoy this book. And I don't know, if it sounds remotely interesting to you, then I think you could enjoy it. I didn't really know what I was getting into when I was reading it. I just knew it was a Korean family that moves to Japan and that it spans the world wars, which is interesting in itself. I didn't know that it was so focused on the family and like on the struggles of, you know, being in a foreign country, being kind of discriminated against, not just kind of being totally discriminated against. So yeah, that's and then the emotional impact in the end. Wow, yeah, I really like this book. Go read it. So yeah, that concludes my review. If you've read the book, let me know what you thought in the comments below. I'm curious. I think there should probably be some people who really didn't enjoy it. So if you didn't, then let me know why. I'm pretty interested in that. So yeah. That concludes my review. If you liked the video, make sure to drop a like and maybe sub to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye!